I think the other point I wanted to mention today in this interview, Chidi, is the whole question of poverty in Kenya. My understanding is that basically poverty in Kenya is one very artificial, and it is actually fake. And there are quite powerful reasons behind that assumption and that assessment. Now, I wonder how many people in Kenya know why they are poor, why they are unemployed, why they are underpaid, why they are in that condition. And I think I need to explain to them that that condition is largely artificial. It is created by their own political leaders that we have, whether those who are ruling today or in opposition, and the very government that has been ruling upon us. Now, no Kenyan today need to be poor at all. No Kenyan ought to die from hunger. No Kenyan ought to go to bed hungry. And we are talking of almost over 25% of Kenyans go to bed when they have not eaten a meal. Many of them do not even have a single meal a day. No Kenyan ought, as a matter of fact, to live in slums. And I will demonstrate that with the figures and the data later on. And no one ought to live in the conditions that they are living today that do not befit human living in the modern society, especially those in the slums. I'm talking about slums like Kibera slum. I'm talking slums like Korogocho. I'm talking places like conditions in the other urban areas where people live in deplorable conditions. Now, no Kenyan need also to go begging around, begging for just a matchstick to go and start a fire, or maybe a cooker, or even going to borrow a spoon of salt or a cup of sugar. These things are very common, but they need not to be so. No Kenyan need to go to any place in a shop, a kiosk, or anywhere to take a packet of milk or basically 5 grams of tea leaves on credit that you will pay at the end of the month. Yet we are talking about over 50% of Kenyans today living in extreme poverty. We are talking of over 70% of Kenyans today earning less than 10,000 Kenya shillings. A vast majority of them earning less than 3,000 Kenya shillings. Majority of them live below the poverty line. That means they earn less than 80 Kenya shillings per day. May I say this to my fellow Kenyans? You are poor, and we have been poor because our own MPs, our own senators, our own governors, our own county assemblies, our own president, our own deputy president, our own prime minister that we have had, and the ministers, and the top echelons of state and their networks have made us poor. How do I arrive to that? This narrative goes back to 1969, and I will explain why 1969 is a critical year in Kenya's economic and social development. Today, you remember that is the time when leaders like Jaramogi Oginga Odinga were hauled into house arrest. Opposition was killed at that time. I don't want to go to details. Tom Mboya was assassinated around that time. It was a period where we were transiting from greater economic development to slow development, and then eventually we entered into negative development. And where we are today, we are not even stagnating, but we are actually declining. Today, those who are leading upon us have perfected one art, one aspect, making more Kenyans poverty-nears, more people who are poverty-ridden, have-nots, and creating people who only earn coins or coinaires as it were, rather than developing a system that churns out genuine millionaires and the haves, which my government will do. Let me give you a simple example for today. Our current MPs awarded themselves 45,000 Kenya shillings as an annual increment every year. So in 2014, they got an increment of 45,000 in March this year or April. Next year, they will get the same amount of money for the next 5 years. Now, take an example. If I were to employ one person, paying him just some money above the poverty line, that is $2.30 per day. The 45,000 Kenya shillings that I'm talking about there will employ 80 people every month. So, say for example, we have 416 members of parliament, both in the Senate and in the National Assembly. Now, in total, therefore, the 45,000 given to each of the above will have employed 3,328 people on a permanent basis every year. Hence, in 5 years, this money would have employed 16,600 people on a permanent basis for the rest of their lives. Thus, by increasing the already huge salaries, our elected politicians denied jobs to about 17,000 Kenyans. And therefore, we ask ourselves where unemployment comes from. Now, if this was the case, how do we deal with unemployment? If money is being routed to those who already have and those who do not have are denied. Remember, already our elected leaders earn up to 1.2 million Kenya shillings every month. And then they increase their salary by about 45,000. I think that is very unreasonable. Second, as our elected leaders pay themselves such huge amount of money, this does not in itself translate into commitment to serve us. So we have a situation where Parliament does not act as expected. Members of Parliament, there are members of Parliament that have never spoken a word in Parliament 1 year down the line. Others simply make technical appearance. They go there for a few minutes and then walk out. Others spend time basically planning and scheming on how they will go abroad or go to coast for some, what they have been calling conferences, basically to get more allowances. It's therefore a double tragedy for us taxpayers. An increase of salary, yet with very little input or output. The civil servants, on the other hand, are underpaid and hardly recognized. They are, in most cases, very hungry because of their low pay, and of course, being hungry and angry at the same time, due to their poor terms of service, they hardly spend quality time working deeply or thinking deeply on how they can transform the country. Many spend time thinking about, their troubles and how they can overcome their long list of problems. Things like school fees, things like debts, things like bus fare, things like lunch, debts they owe Shylocks and cooperatives. So with the public servants unable to do research due to personal and official problems, better solutions on how to end poverty and unemployment is hard to come by. As such, the cycle of poverty and unemployment will continue recycling itself in Kenya. Now, you now know partly why your poverty is there, why you are underemployed or underpaid, as it were. But you have an answer. You have the vote that you can use to dramatically change the history of Kenya. We need to elect leaders who will consider us as citizens first before considering themselves. And we shall discuss these issues as time goes by. Now, as you may be aware, we have established the Party cha Maslahi ya Wakenya Party. which will deliver the promise to Kenyans. I will be, of course, God willing, the presidential candidate in 2017. Now, I believe that your dreams and aspirations are secure and best served by Chama cha Masilahi Party, which is your party. And I believe I'll be best placed to pioneer and navigate the Kenyan ship from 2017. We have tried all the leaders that we have today, whether in government in the Jubilee, they have been our leaders since 1992. Those leaders in opposition, CORD, ODM, Wiper, they have been leaders at the top echelons for 25, 30 years. They have occupied the offices of the vice president, the prime minister. They have been ministers, but they have not led us anywhere that we wanted to go. And that's why I will be stepping in, offering an alternative, and assuring Kenyans, wherever they are, that my government will deliver the promise of our independence struggle, of our daily struggle, and ensure that you have as much money as is expected of your sweat. So come 2017, and before then, as we shall be chatting, let us exchange views, let us discuss, and make a decisive decision in 2017. Thank you very much for your attention.